I am a big fan of making a plan. One of my favorite sayings is control your controllables. And while that sounds simple, what that really means is that you should control what you can control and not worry about all of the tons of other things that you can't control. And I have found personally that within that advice to control your controllables is all of the instruction you need, because just worrying about day to day the things that you can control is really the ultimate power that you have, and the only power that you have. The only person that I can control is myself, and that is so, so important for me to remember, especially when it feels like things are maybe falling apart is a big phrase, but when things are kind of uncertain around me, and I know that has been a constant. That's pretty much one of the only things you can count on, is that things are uncertain in life, just across the board. So on that topic, I am going to talk about making a plan. So my history with planning is this. I have always been a big fan of making a plan, and I kind of would fall in and out of love with planning, but the idea is sometimes you can't always guarantee or feel like you can bring every portion of your plan into reality. Of course not. But just the act of planning and figuring out what you're planning for, and you're making a goal, helps you to clarify what you really want. And sometimes that's really scary. A lot of times that's very scary, because once you put it out there that you want these things, it can feel like maybe once you admit that you want this thing, it becomes kind of almost dangerous. For example, say you really want this house, then it's kind of like it opens up other people would get this house, or something might happen in the meantime. But I stand by that assertion that making a plan, the process of planning and thinking and setting out goals, is half of the magic. The magic is in the process, not necessarily the end goal. And that's something that I need to remember myself too. So if I talk about my history with a 5-year plan, on this channel, I've documented how I have made a 5-year plan, and how not every item on that list came true. Not every item on that list came into being within that 5-year time frame, but the things that I wanted the most did happen. And most of them in the last 2 years of that planning period of that 5-year period. So I will always be a proponent of planning and the action and planning, because again, it's the intentions and goal and direction that's important, not necessarily whether or not you achieve that thing. It's heading in the right direction and knowing where you're headed and how you plan to get there. That's a whole separate topic of how you plan to get there. But making the plan is one of the most important elements. The process of planning, again, the magic is in the process. As in so many things, the magic is in the process. So this is another important thing I want to remember, and that is how to navigate hardship. That is something that I need to keep reminding myself, because I know for myself, sometimes just the thought of hardship, or the potential that things might not go the way you want them to, for example, losing a job, or I don't want to or a sickness or a setback of any type, that's not desired. But I have to remember, many times that type of a detour or setback can pave the way for greater, the ultimate landing at a greater place. So greater insights and sort of quantum leaps. And that can also often be a positive thing, although it's terrifying. So for me personally, in that sense, sometimes you need to take an unconventional path in order to achieve a greater goal. For example, for me, when I was leaving, I have 2 examples. When I was leaving my first job out of college, I didn't know what I wanted to do next, but I know I couldn't stay in that job any longer. And everyone around me was saying that was a terrible idea. Do not leave that job. Do not quit that job without having somewhere else to go. And I didn't listen, and I quit anyway. And I knew for me at that point, that was exactly what I needed to do. And within 6 months, I had a job offer and was navigating my way to the next position. But at the time, everyone was terrified for me. And I have to remember that, because I am someone that has not followed the conventional path. I've not always followed the conventional path. And while it's scary for me to be the person that has other people around me maybe not following a conventional path, it's also empowering to remember that, hey, even though things don't work out the way that your safety or your secure mentality wants them to work out, ultimately they do work out. And I'm the biggest proponent of that, for sure. So when it comes to navigating hardship, I have to remember that it's just one day at a time. And again, making a plan and having an intention of where you want to end up. Again, being very strategic, but being very detailed in how you plan to address this shortcoming or this setback, and how you plan to get beyond it. The steps you're going to take is helpful. For example, I in February of 2018 was not the best time. Actually, 2019, excuse me. In February of 2019, not the best time for me. I had lost a job. I had gone through a breakup, and someone close to me in my family had recently gotten engaged. So it was like this sort of triptych, this trinity of not great things happening all at once. And because I remember being on a call with someone about this breakup, and they were like, oh, how's your job? And I had like just been let go that day. I was like, not great, Bob, not great. So during that time, I had, again, a very strategic process. And when it comes to employment, I've always kind of had a just 5 miles at a time mentality. That comes from Ronald Scott and Roald Amundsen when they were racing to the North Pole. Among the many differences between them, Amundsen was I want to say Norwegian explorer. He just did a certain number of miles every day. I think it was like 50 or 10, but it was only 50. Let's go with 10. It was only 10 miles a day. It wasn't 20 and then 5 and then 3 miles and then 15 and 22 miles. It was only 10 miles a day. And I adopted that strategy when it came to looking for a job. I would only apply for 5 jobs a day, but not 7 one day and 2 one day and none the next and then 15 the next day. It was 5 jobs a day. And I did that religiously and relentlessly until I had a job, and I had a job within 31 days. So that's something I want to remember for myself very, very clearly, that in that time, again, I had a job within 31 days. I actually had 2 offers. So that is something for me personally that gives me tremendous power to remember that story from my past. And again, within 3 years, that situation had completely turned around. My personal situation with the breakup, which was the best thing that ever happened. So that's kind of on the other side. And then on the family side, and I hate to say it this way, but on the family side, the person who got engaged is now kind of going through an iffy time themselves. And I'm like, it's the wheel of life. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, but it will always cycle through. And that is simply something that I need to remember, that the wheel of life keeps turning. It just keeps on turning. Okay. So going forward from this point, what am I going to remember? So there are very many things. I have set my 5-year plan for the next 5 years, and I kind of keep going back and forth. It was actually from 2022 to 27, 28. We'll call it 7. Making that happen, it's not a very ambitious plan. And that kind of makes me wonder if I need to restructure it, because I want to be excited about my plan, but I also don't want to feel like it's so far out of reach that there's no possibility of it to come true. So I'm kind of still in the process of adjusting it, but there are some things that I would like to call into place. So this is my strategy going forward on that plan. So there are 5 things that I'm going to do. Number 1 is visualize and see myself as that person 5 years from now with the things that I am desiring, that I am in this beautiful sun-filled giant kitchen with an island and an open floor plan and a gigantic yard out back with a fenced-in gated pool. And we've got 2 cars in the driveway, and my husband and I both have workspaces in this home, and our family has places to play, and we're able to also come together in places and share a meal and get excited and watch movies all together. We can go to our separate bedrooms. That's my vision, one of the visions that I have for the next 5 years. So really visualizing that right now. And I mean, taking my downtime and doing that instead of like mindlessly scrolling or doing things like looking on eBay for deals on my guilty pleasures. I really want to visualize the person that I am becoming in those 5 years, so that every choice I made is directed toward that person that I am becoming. The second thing is study, and this is really good. I'm reading a book by J. Abraham called Get Everything You Want. No. It is called, to the title, Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got. And it was recommended actually by Ramit Sethi. J. Abraham was one of his mentors. So I am studying the most successful, innovative and profitable ideas people in mine and other industries use to grow and prosper. So that's what I study. That's what ultimately what I'm studying. And I'm increasing the value of my skills in the marketplace, and I'm developing my connections, and I'm tweaking my resume, and I'm doing things to, again, make sure that I am growing the value of my skills in the marketplace. And internally, I'm doing the work to know that I am worthy of the next steps that come financially. The third thing is just taking action. I'm applying for those jobs. I'm getting out there. I'm meeting those people. I'm cleaning and decluttering my space and treating my space as a wonderful representation of what I have called into being from the previous 5-7 years, and where I am headed in the next 5 years. So thanking the space and decluttering and being a good steward of this space. So that's the action that I am continually taking. Step 4 is evaluating, and that's a huge one. So that means that I am evaluating the effectiveness of my previous 3 steps and adjusting as needed. And step 5 is just to repeat. So visualize, study, take action, evaluate, repeat. The evaluate step is the one where I so often get off course, because it's not always easy to look back at my actions and things that I have done and kind of wish that I had done differently. But it's critical, because how can you grow and change if you keep making the same mistakes? So the evaluating part is, again, critical, but challenging, but so important. And I recognize the importance of that step. So that's what I got for you today. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know how you are doing and how you are taking action on your plans, goals, hopes, dreams, hopes and dreams in the future. So thank you so much for watching. I hope, as always, you'll keep watching. Bye.